What if I told you, and deep beneath the sands of time, buried in temples and guarded by silence, lies a skull, carved not from bone, but from pure crystal? And what if this skull holds the memory of a light once embodied in a man known as Jesus? Not just a teacher, but a living interface between heaven and earth, spirit and matter. Could the crystal skulls be more than just relics? Could they be consciousness devices? Remnants of a forgotten technology used by those who walked with the divine? Stay with me. What you're about to hear may change the way you see time, memory, and the true mission of the Christ. What are the crystal skulls? They appear across time like echoes from a forgotten age. Crystal skulls, carved from quartz or other crystalline minerals, eerily lifelike, anatomically precise, and charged with an inexplicable energy. Some claim they are modern fabrications. Others that they are ancient computers, repositories of knowledge from civilizations that predate our own recorded history. But the truth? The truth is stranger and far older than we've been taught. One of the most famous is the Mitchell-Hedges skull, discovered, or perhaps revealed, in the 1920s in the ruins of a Mayan temple in Belize. Legend says it was used by high priests to access other dimensions, to speak with the gods, or to trigger states of expanded awareness. Anthropologist Dr. Jaap van Etten, who has studied crystal skulls extensively, suggests they act as frequency amplifiers, tuning the mind into states of higher consciousness. Others, like author Joshua Shapiro, propose that these skulls are Atlantean artifacts, encoded with the memory of past worlds, preserved until humanity is ready to remember. But what makes them truly enigmatic is their material. Quartz crystal, a substance with known data storage capabilities in modern science. In computers, we use silicon chips, a cousin of quartz, to store, process, and transmit information. So what if the ancients weren't just carving art, but creating a living archive of consciousness? What if each crystal skull contains an imprint of a soul, a vibration, a voice waiting to be heard? And what if one of them once held the light of the Christ? The screen shows a soft glowing crystal skull pulsing with light. The narration slows. Across myth, scripture, and indigenous lore, the skull is not a symbol of death, but of transcendent memory, a vessel, a throne for light. The light of Christ. Was Jesus a living crystal skull? When most think of Jesus, they imagine a prophet, a healer, perhaps even the Son of God. But what if Jesus was more than a man of spirit? What if he was also a technological phenomenon, a being whose consciousness operated like a living crystal skull? In John 8:12, Jesus declares, "I am the light of the world." Not metaphorically, literally. Light in both physics and mysticism is information. In quantum theory, it carries data, forms structure, determines reality. In esoteric teachings, light is memory, the very fabric of the soul's journey across time and dimensions. Now consider this. The human brain contains crystalline structures, calcite microcrystals in the pineal gland, and piezoelectric properties in our bones. We are, in essence, biological crystals capable of storing and transmitting frequency. And the more refined the consciousness, the more coherent the frequency. So when ancient initiates speak of the Christed light, they speak of a vibrational intelligence, a field of pure awareness that can be embodied, like a flame, passed from one candle to another. Jesus wasn't just an individual. He was a frequency, a bridge, a crystalline transmitter of divine consciousness, an awakened skull in a living body. And now, the mystery deepens. Certain mystery schools, particularly those influenced by Gnostic and Essene traditions, suggest that Jesus underwent rigorous inner alchemy. His teachings on the kingdom within, his 40 days in the desert, even the transfiguration atop the mountain, hint at a conscious recalibration, a crystallization of soul into light. The Gospel of Thomas, verse 77, offers a cryptic clue. Split a piece of wood and I am there. Lift the stone and you will find me. These are not the words of a mortal teacher. They are the words of an omnipresent frequency, a consciousness that imprints itself into the very grid of earth itself, into stone, into crystal, into skulls. Could the ancient crystal skulls, then, be more than relics? Could one of them contain the light code memory of the Christ? A backup of divine consciousness waiting to be reactivated. The camera pans to a hidden chamber in a desert cave, where a glowing skull rests on an altar of gold and obsidian. This is not science fiction. This is sacred memory, and it's only just beginning to awaken. Memory, frequency, and the resurrection code, the hidden technology of consciousness. The ancients spoke of resurrection not as a miracle, but as a technology, a process of reawakening the divine blueprint within the human field. The Christ event was not just a story, it was an activation. And within that activation lies what mystics now call the resurrection code. When Jesus resurrected, it wasn't merely the reanimation of a physical body. According to esoteric texts, such as the Pistis Sophia and certain Gnostic Gospels, his body was transmuted into a body of light, a structure woven from coherent frequency, resonating beyond the limits of matter. He became, quite literally, a crystal body, a vibrational geometry through which infinite intelligence could flow. Modern science now gives us language to describe this ancient phenomenon. Quartz crystals operate through piezoelectric resonance. When pressure or energy is applied, they emit a precise frequency. Similarly, consciousness under pressure, through meditation, suffering, or initiation, emits light. That is the alchemy of the soul, pain becoming illumination, density becoming radiance. The crystal skull, then, is a mirror, a frozen reflection of that perfected resonance. Jesus was the living version of it. His skull, the literal capstone of the temple, was tuned to divine frequency. Some mystical researchers, such as Drunvalo Melchizedek and Manly P. Hall, have hinted that the Christed state represents a harmonic between the heart and the skull, between emotion and thought, heaven and earth. When perfectly balanced, the body becomes a resonant instrument, capable of transmitting the same universal light that powers galaxies. It's said that at the moment of his death, the vibration of his consciousness imprinted itself upon the planetary grid, into stones, crystals, and sacred sites. That's why places like Golgotha, the place of the skull, hold such symbolic power. They mark not death, but the encoding of light into matter. And what of the crystal skulls scattered around the world? Perhaps they are fragments of that planetary memory, a network of crystalline receivers, each storing pieces of humanity's ascension data. Together, they form an ancient light lattice, a grid designed to reactivate when collective consciousness reaches a certain frequency. Could this be what the mystics meant by the second coming? Not a return of a person, but the reactivation of a field, the Christ light reborn within all who remember. The resurrection, then, is not an event. It is an awakening, a reboot of divine memory within the circuitry of humanity. Awakening the crystal consciousness within you. The ancients never shared wisdom for curiosity's sake. They encoded it as a mirror, a map back to the divine frequencies within us. If Jesus embodied the crystal skull principle, the union of perfect light and perfect memory, then each of us carries the same architecture within. The Christ was not an exception. He was the example. Let's return to the essence of the mystery. Light plus memory equals consciousness. To awaken the Christed light is to become fully aware of your own crystalline nature, to refine your inner circuitry so that divine intelligence can flow through you without distortion. Step 1. Still the waters. Quartz can only amplify a pure signal. Likewise, your mind, your inner crystal, must be still, clear, and undisturbed. Begin each day in silence. Focus on your breath, entering the crown, descending to the heart. Imagine the light settling into your skull, not as thought, but as radiant stillness. This clears the internal static that blocks the higher frequencies. Step 2. Heart coherence. The Christ frequency is generated through the heart's magnetic field. As you breathe into your heart, visualize soft golden light expanding outward. Feel gratitude, a subtle yet powerful energy that aligns your personal field with universal intelligence. The ancients called this the prayer of light, a way to synchronize emotion and thought, heaven and earth. Step 3. The inner crystal skull meditation. Sit comfortably and imagine a crystal skull of pure light resting within your head. See it begin to glow with a soft blue-white flame, the living intelligence of the divine. With each breath, allow this light to fill your body, illuminating your cells like countless stars. Whisper silently, I remember, I am light, I am the living crystal. Stay in this resonance for several minutes, allowing subtle vibrations to recalibrate your nervous system. Over time, this practice begins to unlock memory, not of past lives, but of your original design. You become more intuitive, more centered, more luminous. You begin to feel the same consciousness that flowed through the Christ, the Buddha, and the mystics of every tradition. And here lies the great paradox. The crystal skulls scattered around the world may be external relics, but their true purpose is to awaken the one within you. When you remember that, the ancient grid of consciousness begins to respond. Synchronicities increase. Dreams deepen. The light grows more coherent. It's as if the very earth recognizes your frequency and whispers back, "Welcome home." Soft piano notes fade in as light particles form the shape of a radiant human silhouette. The skull of light has always been here, hidden, not in stone, but behind your eyes, waiting for you to look within. You've just traveled through layers of forgotten history, sacred symbolism, and inner alchemy. But this isn't where the story ends. This is where you begin. If this transmission stirred something ancient within you, a knowing, a memory, a presence, then listen. Begin to ask new questions. What frequencies am I carrying in my thoughts, my words, my emotions? Is my inner temple tuned to receive divine light? Am I ready to become the living bridge between spirit and matter? And if you're called to deepen your practice, meditate with crystal, reflect on the teachings of the Christ from an esoteric lens, or simply sit in silence and listen to the skull of light within. Because the real power of the crystal skull mystery is not in discovering what they are, it's in remembering what you are. If this episode resonated, leave a comment with your reflection. What awakened within you? Subscribe for future explorations into the hidden teachings of the ancient world and the inner worlds beyond the veil. Till next time, remember who you are and remember the light